Hi, it's John Whitehead, and welcome to another week of my video blog posts. Last week, I talked about the definition of leadership and having my students in my university course come up with their own definition. And I mentioned about how there was a myriad of definitions out there. In fact, if you take a look at this bookcase behind me, most of these books are on leadership or somehow relate to leadership. And I could pick up one just off the top, and the Practice of Leadership by Congo Riggio. I've got the Leadership Challenge. I've got Breaking All the Rules by Marcus Buckingham. There's a series of books on emotional intelligence. This tells you how much resources are out there. How do you dig through that? How do you dive down to find your own personal leadership style? It starts with self-awareness. It really starts with who you are, knowing who you are as an individual. What's your behavioral style and communication style? How do you prefer to behave and communicate? That's one of the first steps you need to take. Who are you? How do you act? The second thing is finding out, what are your values? What are your core values? What drives you? And then aligning those two things. And by aligning those things, you should be able to develop some sort of vision statement for yourself. This is how I want to be seen. This is how I want to go forward. Now, what I've just described is not a small feat. It takes a lot of serious thinking, deep thinking and reflection, and maybe a lot of journaling, as I have my students do. And part of that then is, once they've got their vision, is come up with an ethical statement for themselves. What are their ethics? Drawing on their values, drawing on their vision. And when they take a look at other leaders, what are the characteristics that those leaders that they admire have so much? Where does their credibility come from? Once we get into that, then we get a good sense of what it is. Now, saying all that, we've all had leaders in our lives. We've all had good leaders, and we've all had not so good leaders. We sort of know that inside. We know how it makes us feel. So can we turn that around? Can we turn that around then and allow that to inform how we act in a leadership role? It's a good question to ask. And you may be saying, well, I'm not a leader. Well, the reality is, there are times that you will be that leader. There'll be time. When was the last time you stepped forward and volunteered and said, I'll do X, Y, Z? You are being the leader. When was the last time that somebody asked you if you would take on responsibility and you said, hey, no problem, I can do that? You were being a leader. So at some point, we all present those leadership abilities. How we're doing it and how effective we are becomes the question. Anyway, just some things to think about this week. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me next week. And by the way, any comments you want to make, just make them below in the comment section, and I'll be happy to respond to them. Have a great week.